Hello, everyone, and welcome to McKinley Consulting Firm. I am Dr. Wanda McKinley, and we also have, who are you, ma'am?
My name is Shar Goody with God's Creation.
Yes, and Ms. Shar is a wonderful abstract painter. Our topic today, we're going to talk about there's 4 really strong negative coping skills that sexual assault survivors and victims go through. So what today we're going to focus on, this is part 1 of part 4, and we're going to focus on the denial coping skill that we go through. Unfortunately, we have positive coping skills and we do have negative coping skills. So I wanted to address the negative coping skills that a lot of us choose to do and think that it's okay. So we're going to talk about being in a denial state after being sexually assaulted, whether that's sexually abused, rape, molestation, whatever the circumstance may be. We're going to talk about how we develop unhealthy coping mechanisms. And the reason why we do that is we try to redirect the stress. And unfortunately, a lot of these behaviors are adapted at a young age, especially for myself, being a survivor of sexual assault, which occurred at a very early age. I learned how to adapt in a very negative way. And we think it's okay because it protects us and we don't feel. But I want to let people know that denial is not healthy. We need to have positive coping mechanisms to go through life. Now, the 4 negative ones that we're going to focus on over 4 different segments is denying, avoiding, minimizing, and rationalization. Now, if you were sexually abused, you might recognize at least one of these coping mechanisms. And it doesn't even have to be sexual assault or sexual abuse. Just a traumatic event that happened in your life, a lot of times we will turn to one of these or all 4 of these different types of coping mechanisms. They actually show up, and sometimes we don't even know that they're there. They are unhealthy, and it prohibits us from taking care of us in a manner that's healthy, in a manner that we need to. A lot of times therapists will refer to this as being defensive, which I can tell you that there are many times when that defensive mechanism kicks in and it's there before we even know it. While it is known to be a coping mechanism, once again, it's not healthy. It is not healthy to be always on the defense because it stops you from growing. It stops you from accepting constructive criticism. It stops you from receiving help because you're concerned about that being hurt. You're concerned about that person's motive. It also, with being defensive, it kind of buffers your discomfort. Okay, so during stressful times, what it does is it limits our ability to respond to new challenges because of our emotional health. It's been damaged. It's not healthy. So we tend to not want to allow something new or allow some new beginnings because we are afraid. The defense coping mechanism has no long-term benefits, and it can and will make healing very difficult. And the point of us seeking help when it comes to being sexually assaulted is healing. Because in order to heal, it allows us to live again. It allows us to breathe again. It allows us to be one and be complete. When I say one, complete, because when we are sexually assaulted, when we are violated, when we are traumatized, we lose some things about ourselves. We get who we know, who we knew before that trauma happened. We lose that person. And a lot of times you hear victims say, I'll never get back to that person. I don't know who that person was. You have to reinvent yourself, because now your trust, your love, it's a lot of things that were damaged when that traumatic event happened to you. So I know for me, defense was my first line of defense. But it's not a healthy coping mechanism. And even though defense coping is something that needs to be addressed in healing, we as victims and survivors should never feel ashamed. Never. And we learn from a lot of our experiences. Okay, so what does a coping mechanism look like? Well, here's the thing. Some of us find ourselves saying, it was so long ago, it doesn't matter anymore. That's not true. And what gets me is a lot of people, when a woman finally gets the courage to come out and say, this happened to me. This person sexually assaulted me. It may have been 5 years, 5 minutes ago, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. It doesn't matter. But a lot of times people say, well, what took them so long? But what has happened is that coping mechanism, that denial coping mechanism that we want to focus on, that denial tells you, oh, it was so long ago, it doesn't matter anymore. Oh, I mean, who's going to believe me now? Or does it really matter? I've gotten past it. Well, have you really? Have you really gotten past it? So with the denial, we will say things like, well, I wasn't penetrated. So does it count actually as sexual abuse? And the answer to that question is yes. Any form of sexual encounter, whether it's a kiss, whether it's a touch, whether it is penetration, whatever a person does to another person that's uninvited, it's sexual abuse or sexual assault. Does not matter if you were not penetrated. And see, that's the denial. Well, people categorize sex as intercourse, penetration. You can have sex without penetration. I even know of a case where a person became pregnant and there was no penetration. There was semen, exactly, of course, because she became pregnant, but he didn't penetrate her. Sex is more than just penetration. So please, if anyone has made a sexual advance towards you, has touched you inappropriately, anything of the sort, yes, that does count as sexual abuse if it is something that you do not want. Common thing. Oh, I went to therapy, so it's over now. Is it really? No, it's not. I don't think there's ever a point in life where you just stop thinking about what happened to you. How is that possible? It's part of your history. We don't forget the good things. So you're not going to forget the trauma. You're not going to forget the bad things, because with that comes healing. There are going to be times when your past resurfaces. The mind, we all know, is a powerful, powerful tool. And it protects us from so many things. It protects us from the hurt, from the pain, from the anguish. It protects us from so much. But just because we go to therapy and talk about it and get it out in the open, that's just the beginning. So no, even if you went to therapy as a kid, as an adult, you're still being affected. You're still making some decisions today based on the abuse that happened to you. So if you find yourself telling yourself that, that's already a flag. That's already telling you, no, you need more help. No, you need to talk about what's going on. Because if those are the words that you find yourself thinking or saying, then you need to dig a little deeper to figure out, why are you saying those things? Why? Okay, here's another denial statement we may say. Yes, I was abused, but it didn't affect me. Really? Let's think about that. Somebody forced you to do something that you did not want to do. And you don't think that didn't affect you? Once again, that goes back to me saying, think about what you're saying to yourself right now. Think about, you just said it didn't affect me. So if it didn't affect you, why are you saying those things to yourself? Why are you trying to convince yourself that it's okay? What I'm feeling right now, the anguish that I'm going through right now, the hurt, the anger, just all of these emotions that I'm feeling right now, it's okay. It didn't affect me. Really? Denial is pretty straightforward. It is refusing to acknowledge something that hurt you or that it happened at all. When someone hurts you or harms you, you have to acknowledge it. But I know when we deny it, if we don't acknowledge it, we don't give it life. We don't give it meaning. We don't give it purpose. We literally like, it didn't exist, right? Which denial means. But if we acknowledge it, then we can face it. Then we can deal with it. We can work out the situation. We can work out the issues. But we have to speak about it. We have to give it life. We have to talk about it. And that is, when I say a negative coping skill of being in denial, it's because if you're denying it happened, how can you get help? How can you heal from that? How can you build from that if you're denying it happened? We use denial to protect ourselves from distress, from the truth. Some survivors who engage in denial might not even acknowledge their abuse. But they'll acknowledge, here's the kicker, some people do. They'll acknowledge the abuse. They acknowledge it happened, but then they will deny the impact of the trauma that has happened in their lives and how that trauma has affected them over time. So you have some people that will completely deny the abuse ever happened. Never happened to me. I don't know what you're talking about. That person is not telling the truth. That didn't happen to me. Then you have the others that be like, well, yeah, that happened, but it's not a big deal. There's so many ways that denying is so hurtful and so harmful. So why do you think denying what happened to you is harmful? Well, here's the thing, because it's going to affect decisions that you make in your life. And a lot of times we find ourselves in bad situations over and over and over again. And you say, how do I keep getting to this point? How do I keep meeting the same type of man, same type of woman? How do I keep making these same type of decisions? Well, Is there something in your life that you're denying happened to you? Is there something in your life that happened that motivates your decision making? Okay, so those that have learned to cope with denial, they may struggle with recognizing harmful situations or situations that are destined to have a bad outcome until it's too late. Okay, so when you're using coping mechanisms, it decreases your awareness of warning signs when you're in denial. It also makes you more vulnerable for people to take advantage of you. It doesn't even have to be in a sexual manner. It could be just life, period. Beautiful. I'm watching her paint. So, Miss Char, tell us about your painting.
So, all right, hold on. Okay, let me know. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So the black area is the denial. And then there's actual figures that are in there that'll be brought out more. But here's over here, like the individual that has had or attempted to have his way with the child.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's absolute healing over here. And the gold represents the healing. So the gold is the healing, and over here is the red and the gold. So you're taking the healing and you're being able, or one is being able to address the denial.
Okay.
Being able to confront the denial. So it's giving, because you're taking the healing and confronting that, it's more powerful to where you can absolutely feel it, and it's something that resonates.
Wow.
So right here, it's forming of a butterfly. And so the butterfly gives wings and gives freedom.
Awesome. And to me, a butterfly, that speaks volumes, because a butterfly goes through a metamorphosis before it becomes, it's a caterpillar before it becomes a butterfly. And for my nonprofit organization, part of our logo is a butterfly, because when we are victimized, we are that caterpillar, and then we do go into our cocoon when it comes to the therapy and talking and reinventing ourselves into a wonderful butterfly. So, Ms. Char, how can people find you and look at all of your beautiful paintings?
Over on IG, Instagram, Galleria, it's Char Goody at God's Creation, and then also on Facebook at God's Creation as well.
Awesome. Well, this is Dr. Wanda McKinley. Please also go to www.hearmeroar, and roar has 2 R's at the end.com. Or please feel free to give me a call with any questions at 214. I always do this, 966-5152. I tell you, I have too many phone numbers. Again, it's 214-966-5152. We will be returning next weekend is July 4th weekend. So everybody be safe, especially with COVID-19 going on. So we'll return in 2 weeks with talking about avoiding and how people avoid things that have occurred to them. Whether it's the sexual assault, whether it's avoiding people, whether it's just avoiding life decisions. But we'll talk about avoiding in 2 weeks. So we look forward to coming back. And Ms. Char, thank you again for your beautiful work.
He's going in.